Wow, that was really loud. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, I think I'm ready. Hi, friend. How you doing? That's good. That's good. If you're not doing okay, I'm gonna assume you're doing well anyway because you are alive and you are breathing. And I know how that might sound on a bad day, but you're here to have a bad day rather than not being here at all. And it is a privilege to be a human. It is a privilege to be alive. If you have all the functions of your body, it is a privilege to do so. And no matter how stressed out you get, I want you to remember that. I will tell you what, the amount of distraction. Oh, there it is, really loud. Let me move this. Okay. The amount of distraction that I experienced in coming to create this audio was very interesting. And I don't know if it was my ADD or if it was just other things. I don't know. But we're here. I'm about to sip my tea, so if you are not someone that is big into ASMR, I am so sorry. Okay. I got my little Google Keep here because I wanted to share one of my affirmations with you guys that awakened a beautiful thought in me that I'm going to intuitively ramble off of. So I don't know if you've seen my most recent short where I was talking about reaching out to ask a friend for help with something and immediately coming into what I first thought was negative beliefs, which turned out to be my inner child instead, and reparenting my inner child off of that. But if you haven't, long story short, I was needing some help with something and I wanted to ask my friend, but I don't know if it was ego or what. I was like, no, that would be too much. That would be like leave her alone kind of vibes. So I went to my therapy app and I was unpacking it there, and the conclusion came that no, you actually should ask your friend for help with this thing. So I did. And after I asked my friend for help, I started having all these thought patterns that, as I said before, I initially thought was negative thinking. And it turned out to just be my inner child being afraid of rejection. Not even rejection like being told no, but like being judged. And it was really inspiring because it was an opportunity for me to reparent my inner child and say, you know, hey, people want to help you. And as I tell my daughter, I can't help if I don't know. So I need you to tell me things because I want to help. I'm going to be taking pauses, so just bear with me. I'm taking them so that I process before I speak. So I thank you for your patience, my friend. Yeah, so I came to the internal conclusion that it is safe to ask for help. And something in me came up and was like, well, why on earth would you feel unsafe asking for help? That doesn't make any sense. And I have a morning affirmation and prayer I say, where I say, you know, thank you, Source, thank you, God, Spirit, for letting me feel wildly open to receiving. And I'm realizing how playfully and gently Source, and I'm sorry about the background noise, guys. The walls are really thin here. I'm realizing how playfully and gently Source, the universe, God, is giving me opportunities to experience the chance to feel wildly open to receiving, to reframe the thought pattern that there is something wrong with asking for help. When I was a kid, my grandmother would say to me, actually, it wasn't when I was a kid, I think I was in my adult life. My great grandmother said this to me on my mother's side. She said, "Don't be too proud to ask for help." And I remember for years, I was just like, I'm not proud. If you hear the microphone, I'm like holding it because I have it on a pillow and I don't want it to fall. So, and I have it on a pillow because this is the best way for you to hear me without me yelling or you getting a lot of background noise. Anyway, ADD moment, right? My grandma used to say, don't be too proud to ask for help. And I spent years thinking it's not about being proud. It's about that I don't want anyone to think that I'm a burden. I don't want anyone to think that I can't do it myself. And what I'm realizing is there was a lot of shame around needing help with things as I grew up. I don't know where it came from. But I can remember moments in my life, situations in my life, growing up as I did as a foster kid. If you're a foster kid, then maybe you understand. Where sometimes you need help. And maybe it wasn't even a foster kid thing. Maybe it was just in general, like growing up and becoming a young adult and needing help with things like a place to stay or job hunting or needing a ride. I always felt shame. Always. If I needed a ride to work, I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I can remember my kids' grandparents helping me get to job hunting and giving me a car and things like that, and I felt so ashamed because I would see them helping their kids and their kids were not grateful. They took advantage, and I think part of it was I never wanted to do the same thing. I never wanted to take advantage. I also just didn't want to be put in the same basket as their kids, so I went out of my way to do everything myself. And it came to a point in my life where I would be in crises and need help, and it was really hard for me to ask for the help I needed to get out of crises situations. In fact, I would rather go into, at that time, in a past version of me, she would rather have gone into a shelter and struggle through that than to ask family for a place to stay. She would rather have gone through, government assistance to support herself financially. And I don't knock government assistance at all. I mean, if you need it, you need it. That's what it's there for. But for me, it was, I would rather do this than to ask someone for help. I can even remember moving to a new state and getting government assistance at that time. And she was like, okay, well, if you're going to get state insurance like Medicaid, then you are going to have to file for child support. And I said, I don't want to ask for something that they're not even going to give me. Number one, I don't want to chase people who don't want to help me in the first place. And this woman said to me basically that I was owed this. And not to think of it as chasing, to think of it as, this is what's going to get me what I need. So I'm doing what I've got to do to get what I need, to get the help that I need. So I spent a lot of my life avoiding asking people for help, to the point that I became really insecure around the subject of asking for help. And so now I'm in a place in my life where I have a really healthy friend, and she loves to help me with things. Like, she offers all kinds of beautiful, amazing things, and I'll say no. Even if I actually need it, I find myself saying no, and I'll tell her, no, it's okay, because I don't want you to have to inconvenience yourself to help me. And she always says, hey, you have a friend now, and I want to help you. I want to do this thing. I want to be here for you. And what I'm realizing is, I don't know if I've had a moment in my life where I've had someone who, A, wanted to be there. Maybe I did and I didn't notice it because my mindset was, if I ask for help, I'm going to be shamed. So when you have that perspective, because remember, your perspective is your power. When you have that perspective, it limits what you can see. If your perspective is only red, you're only going to see red. You're not going to see blue, green, or pink. No matter how often there is blue, green, or pink in your face, you're going to only see red. The moment you say that I don't just see red, I see a rainbow of colors, then you're able to start observing a rainbow of colors, because you have now trained your nervous system and your brain to look for this rainbow of colors. So I think a lot of the reason that I felt like others wouldn't help me, or that I never had help, I never had people who wanted to help me, like my current best friend, was partly because of my perspective. Which is okay, because we're here now, right? So I had this affirmation come up today in my therapy chat, and I wanted to share it with you. If I can find it, bear with me, guys. I love that people want to help me. I always change my affirmations, by the way, into I love that instead of I am. I always add I love that, because for some reason it helps my nervous system and my mind to wrap around it with the energy of gratitude. So I love that people want to help me, and it's safe to ask for what I need. I love that I am safe to ask, and I am safe to receive. To be a grown woman and have to reparent myself into knowing that it is safe to ask for things is a little surprising. And I can start to see what my grandmother was saying, because I think I saw pride as like snobby, or like, I can do it on my own. I don't need nobody, like, energy, which I sometimes do have that. But I think what she meant was don't be so afraid. Like, what is pride really? Let's look it up. Let's look up the definition of pride. Let's see. Pride definition. All right, so definition of pride. Ooh, I'm really close. Sorry, guys. There's 3 definitions here. One says a sense of one's own proper dignity or value, self-respect, pleasure or satisfaction taken in an achievement, possession, or association. Arrogant or disdainful conduct or treatment, haughtiness. Actually, there's more than 3. A cause or source of pleasure or satisfaction. The most successful or thriving condition, an excessively high opinion of oneself, conceit. And the other has to do with like horses, mettle or spirit in horses, a group of lions, and a flamboyant or impressive group. So, see, that's why I said I didn't feel like it was pride, because the definition of pride comes from this space of like haughtiness. And it was never that I was too proud to ask for help. It's that I had experienced, and maybe it came from being a foster kid. Yeah, now that I think about it, maybe it did come from being a foster kid, because here's what I'm thinking. Maybe it came from being a foster kid because, when you're a foster kid, you need help. You need someone to take you in and parent you and be there for you. And most of the time, well, in my situation, that meant that the help of my parents was not there. So, and it was a lot of the homes, the parents of foster parents would make you feel ashamed of being a foster kid, like it was your fault, that you were unwanted, that you were undeserving, almost like they would parent you, but parent you in a way that made you feel undeserving of even being parented. So, imagine living a life conditioned of, and even like in like foster homes, group homes, even in group homes, there are a lot of workers there that didn't like kids. And, they would tell you that you're the reason you're here. You're bad. No one wants you. And so when you're constantly told these things, it's like no one wants to help you. No one wants to help you by being your parent. No one wants to help you by, nurturing you and supporting you, giving you housing. This is a burden. You're a burden. So, and I laugh now because I see it so clearly. It makes sense. And like I empathize for my inner child, because obviously she would have anxiety around asking for help, because even just having a stand-in parent was perpetuated as burdensome, and it had nothing to do with her. It had to do with those people. But because of that repetitively being shown to her, and me not understanding what perspective and the power of perspective and the power of attention at that time, having that shown to me repeatedly through these people made me feel like, well, I'm unwanted. I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of parenting. I'm not worthy of help. The simplest form of help, which is just nurturing and parenting. So if I'm not worthy of it, I'm not going to ask for anything. If I'm not worthy of this, I'm not going to ask for anything. I'm going to do everything myself. And then even going back further than that, the ones that were supposed to be there weren't. So the parents that were supposed to be there, they were not there, which created this foundation of, yeah, you're not worthy of this treatment. And so what happens, I forget those different forms of attachment, but there's that one form of attachment that just completely, like, detaches completely and kind of just says, whatever, I can do without it. It's almost like I created this safety mechanism of, I'll do without it, I'll do it myself. So now that I'm at a space where I'm healing myself, I'm at a space where I'm listening to myself, I'm calming my nervous system, I'm tapping into my inner child, I'm connecting with my womb space, I'm connecting with my intuition, with God's source energy. I'm able to listen to those moments when I get afraid over things that I should have never been afraid of in the first place. But it's okay, because now I get to do for my inner child what wasn't done for her. And the last 2 days, actually the last 12 hours, not even 12, really 8, this morning and today has been a big journey in reparenting myself. And knowing when it's my inner child that needs me versus a negative thought pattern. All right, let me get some tea. Guys, there is legitimately an ice cream truck. I don't know about you, but ice cream trucks have started to creep me out. It's only because the vans look weird. And because it's not 1995 anymore. Now, the ice cream truck is perfectly fine and safe. I just think they look creepy. Anyway. So, it's not... I lost my train of thought. But yeah, I'm getting these opportunities to know what negative thinking looks like versus a scared inner child who needs to be parented, and like the actual energy that comes behind it, like what that feels like in your body. Like I had a memory come up in my dream state, and I woke up from it this morning and I was just in pieces. I was so upset. And my heart was legitimately aching. But I knew the moment I woke up, I was like, I don't need to write this dream down. Like I was so exhausted, but at the same time, so like emotionally in turmoil that I couldn't write it down. Because usually I'll write my dreams down and I'll look at them later. Sometimes I won't look at them. But I knew what this dream was about. I knew it was a moment of all the times that I hadn't been there for myself, that I had abandoned myself. And being a child who was abandoned and then abandoning myself and not realizing how much I was abandoning myself, to the point to where my dream state reminded me, like I knew prior to, like in my daily life, hey, you abandoned yourself, it's time to come back. But like having it come up in my dream state with a literal moment that experienced trauma, and I wasn't mad at the person who had caused me the trauma. I woke up upset with myself, but not angry, just like hurt. Like, how could I let this person do these things? How could I let this happen for so long? So I woke up with that emotion, and I immediately knew that my inner child needed me to say, I'm sorry. So I said, I'm sorry, and I love you, and you're safe, and we're not there anymore, and I'm never going to let that happen to you again. And I'm so sorry I abandoned you after everything you've been through. I love you so much. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. And it took me a bit, but I started to feel better. And then later in my day, it's like I had another opportunity, and she came back and she's like, hey, I'm scared that this person's going to judge me because I asked for help with this thing, which when I looked at it from like a grand scope, it was a silly thing to be afraid of. Not silly like, oh, you're silly, like this is unimportant, but silly like, why would you ever think that this person would think those things about you for asking for something so simple? There has been so much unpacking of old timeline, old narratives that were given to me that were never mine, that it is unreal. And what people don't tell you is that when you are on a spiritual journey, it doesn't look like stars and rainbows, and it's usually internal. It's not typically, a lot of your spiritual journey is not the external world. It's your thought patterns. It's how you respond to your body. It's how you're tapped into your womb space, because your womb space is the center of your chi, your life source energy. Your womb space is your creative space. I've said this before, but the way that we are born comes from our creative space. That's where life is created. So obviously that would make sense that that would be energetically where our creative energy is housed, where our life source energy is housed. And that's a quick ramble, which is okay, I guess. I'm going to call it an e-cast, not a podcast, because I don't like podcasts. Nothing against podcasts. I usually can't sit through them. Like, it doesn't matter who it is, I can't sit through them, so I'm calling it an e-cast. But yeah, that's this actual spiritual journey. An actual spiritual journey is the inner world, the world you can't see. Because the statement, everyone is you pushed out, everything is you pushed out, is literally everything you experience is a reflection of your inner world. The things you think about yourself, the connection you have with yourself, how you feel about yourself, your inner child wounds, your fears, your anxieties are all reflected back to you in your outside world. So the more you're tapping into your inner world, your outside world will change to reflect that. And I just find it so fascinating that my inner child is speaking up, because that means that I'm creating a connection with her in a really great way. And I'm really grateful for that, because I spent a lot of time telling myself that I could do better, that I could do more. And I know exactly where that comes from. That comes from stuff that has nothing to do with me. It's not even mine to carry, because the fact that I'm thinking I'm not doing a great job, and if you're like me and you think this, you're doing a great job, because people don't think about that unless they care. You have to care to wonder if you're doing a great job, and to like overthink it and obsess over it. So give yourself space. Showing up is doing a great job. Just show up. Yeah, I think that's it. I think everything I've said in itself is the inspiration for today's audio, for today's eCast. I don't know. I kind of like that statement. I don't know. I kind of like eCast. I had my tea and my water, and I barely drank anything, guys, because I was just like chatty. I tried to do this in video form for you guys, and I had set myself, I got myself looking nice, I had the camera set up, and I had the nice backdrop, and then all of a sudden it was just, the camera was blurring out the backdrop, and that I have ADHD, so obviously that annoyed me. So I was trying to fix it for like 15 minutes, and then it became something else, and I was like, you know what, let's just record, because this felt really intuitive to share, and I didn't want to miss it. I'm learning that right now at this phase in my life, I'm not a person who can like plan out what she's gonna do. Like, you know how some people can write out, oh, I'm gonna talk about this thing, and then they plan a day and they sit down and they make notes and they talk about it based on the notes. I'm not her. Not right now. I will be. I'm certain of it. There are some areas where I can do that, but I tend to either plan it in my head and do it right then, or I do it on the fly, because if I don't, I'm going to forget, or if I write it out and try to do it tomorrow, I'm not going to want to. So I kind of have to do it. I have to, what is that saying? Strike while the iron's hot. Which, is that, what does that have to do with, wait. Is that for like the people that used to make swords? Because like I always thought it had to do with cooking, but now I think about it, and you're like, you hit the iron when it's like flaming, right? When they would make the swords. So I'm laughing because this is so off subject, which is very much like me, to go 15 different directions. Anyway, I'm getting incredibly thirsty, and I still have some studying to do, and I'm going to show up and be accountable with myself for that, because I started a Korean studies course through a company called Gogo Hanguk. I will be going to Korea next year to study it as a student, or at least that's the plan. I'm going to Korea next year either way, and so I took their online course for now to help prepare me, and it also gives you the opportunity to get like a certificate, so you don't have to take like the initial exam. They give you 6 months to complete it, and I want to show up and study at least a little bit today, because I didn't study yesterday and it has been bugging me. So I'm going to go do that now. Don't ask me why I'm laughing. I'm laughing because I exist. I don't know. I love you guys so much. And you are doing a wonderful job. I know I say that all the time, okay? But you are. Even if you think you're not, I promise you, you are. You are not where you were last year, even if you think you are. Even if you're doing, I guarantee you, even if you're doing the exact same thing you were last year, there's something about you that's different, because we all evolve. My mom used to say to always seek growth. If you don't grow, you're dead. And I used to think that was like so morbid. right? Like, gosh, like, I don't want to die. That was like a little kid too. Like, I don't want to die. But like, if you think about it from a plant, when a plant stops growing, yeah. But like, I also remember that energy doesn't cease to exist, it changes form. So like, those plants aren't dead, they just turn into dirt or soil or whatever. And yeah, I'm rambling. And I said I was gonna go study, didn't I? Okay, friend, I have had my e-talk, my e-cast moment with you today, and I have shared my world. So I'm going to make myself cut this off. Again, I love you so much. You are doing a wonderful job. Keep going. Drink your water. Get some sunlight. Go somewhere, anywhere you can, and take your shoes off and put your feet in the ground. Just put your feet on the earth. You can wash them after, okay? Put your feet on the earth. Do something for you today. Take one small step towards your goals today. Doesn't have to be huge, even if you just write it down. One small step towards your goals today, and celebrate one thing today about yourself. Not something you did, something about yourself. Everything's always working in your favor, even if it looks like it's not. Trust the process. And make today beautiful on purpose, my friend. I love you. Namaste. Thanks so much for listening.